Hey guys, it's Aaron Heiser, Maker's Leather Supply, and today we're going to do a 2-minute tool tip on using a stitch groover. So here we go. Okay, so I grabbed up the 3 stitch groovers I have in my office. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. And right to left, this is one we have from our tool maker that makes a lot of our knives and stuff like that. Comes with 3 different sized blades. You know, for thicker, thinner threads and stuff like that. In the middle we have a Barry King stitch groover. He also has different sizes of blades, but only one comes with it when you buy one. And then over here, this is a prototype one that one of our tool makers sent us that, I mean, it's neat and it's fancy, but fancy doesn't impress me near as much as function does. So, this one, out of here. It doesn't function poorly, but it functions just as well as these two, and it's all fancy and expensive. So, alright. So, these two, honestly, I don't have a preference in them. This one is a little bit more convenient because it comes with the different sizes of blades. But the Barry King one is an amazing tool as well. So, I have nothing negative to say about either of them. They're both great tools. That being said, there are other brands and stuff out there. Again, this is just the ones I happen to have in front of me. I will tell you this, like, okay, the anatomy of this tool. We got a turn screw right here, which can move the little guide on the edge out and in, okay? And what that is that little guide runs along the edge of your leather so that you can, angle it down a little bit there, so that you can, make sure that you're running perfectly parallel to your edge, right? As far as the size of the blade, again, it's all about what size stitching you use. I think this is the smallest blade available that I have in here because I usually use smaller threads, 1/38 or smaller on the sewing machine, and 0.8 millimeter and smaller if you're hand sewing, 0.030 and smaller if you're hand sewing with a SAE standard system of measurement thread. Anyway, alright, so like I said, this was the edge guide. The blade is right here. There's another little turn screw to let the blade come out. It's a very simple thing to use. It really is. That I do prefer that this one is ambidextrous. I can pull this thing out and pull it over here, and now it's a left-handed one, except for now you've got that problem right there. So what you need to do probably, I guess, is just turn the blade over and use it that way. I didn't even think about that because, you know, I'm slow like that. And I'm not left-handed, so I don't need it to be ambidextrous. But I know there are left-handed leather crafters, and I'm sure y'all need to know that little bit of information, right? So anyway, when stitch grooving, what people use it for is to bury the stitches deeper into the leather so that they don't get worn, okay? Like if you're making outdoor equipment, saddlery equipment, tack, and things like that, a lot of saddle makers and stuff, of course, use a stitch groover, okay? These 2 stitch lines right here were done with, the bottom one was done in a groove, the top one was done outside of a groove. Everything else about the stitch is identical. The stitches per inch, the type of chisels I used, everything else is identical, the thread I used. So, I do like the look of the one that's buried in the trench a little bit more. It's buried right there in the stitch groove. I do like the look of it. I think it cleans it up a little bit, kind of gives it borders, I guess you can say. But that being said, I'll be very honest with you. I don't use a stitch groover a lot. Honestly, I just don't think to do it. Okay. To use one, again, you'd set your edge guide wherever you want it, and then you just press it down onto the leather and give it a pull, okay? And, let my edge guide slip right off the edge of my leather because I'm paying attention to the video and talking and not my work. So anyway, and it does a nice little stitch or groove right there. The hard part, I guess, on the stitch groover is when you're going around corners and things like that, okay? And the reason that's a difficult task is because if you angle it one way or the other and you're not perfectly parallel and to the edge of the leather, then your stitch groove is either closer to the edge of the leather or further away. So a lot of the time I will kind of hold the stitch groover in place and rotate the leather around, which normally you wouldn't be going around something like this unless it was a belt. But like 90-degree turns and things like that, a lot of the time I'll round them off a little bit. And here I'm getting off track because my daggum thing is slipping. I'm not doing a very good example here. Again, I don't use this tool a lot to be very proficient with it. There we go. And then the good news is if you screw up like I did right there, your stitch will cover that up. You know, but I would go back over it with the groover and pull there, clean that out a little bit. Okay, so stitch groovers are great tools. They have their purpose for sure. They're very useful. One of the things I like too about this style of stitch groover, I can pull that little arm out and now it's a freehand stitch groover. I could do it along a scallop or something like that a little bit easier, or I could even just put it up against my ruler and do a line that's not necessarily right up against an edge. So if I was doing bookbinding or something like that, you know, or a binder on a notebook, then there we go. So anyway, that's about all of my expertise or non-expertise as it may be on stitch groovers. Hopefully I showed you something. It is a great tool to have. Again, I don't use it a ton, but every once in a while I do. But I do want to say one more thing. You have to pre-think about if you're going to groove something. Because if you dyed this piece of leather and then you went back and you cut your groove, that groove is not going to be dyed. You'll have that nice blonde colored leather underneath that brown or turquoise or whatever color that you dyed. So you do have to think about that. So anyway, again, I'm Aaron Heiser, Maker's Leather Supply. This has been a 2-minute tool tip on stitch groovers. Have a great day.